Hello, and we are live, and on today's live show we've a bit of a robot theme with some upcoming ROS2 releases, my projects which all seem to be about robots at the moment, and even a little rover that I've found on GitHub. So I'll talk a bit more about my upcoming robot arm project and some of that later on, and answer some of your questions. So welcome, and it's nice to be here. Hi, I'm John, your concierge to the world of the Raspberry Pi Pico, IoT, robotics and other fun tech, and welcome to my channel. And this is my live stream. It's a slightly more relaxed, certainly more relaxed from you and the content I try and bring to the session. Definitely more terrifying for me as I try and do all of this live. If it's your first time watching with me, thank you very much for joining. And if you're returning, thank you very much for coming back. I do absolutely appreciate it. Please do like and please do subscribe. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, actually, before that, I should say, how are you and how's everything keeping? Because, you know, the world of our projects and the world of IoT development and robotics, it's not easy and things don't often go right. And I know that. I have that all the time with my projects. I've had some good fun at the moment with a few projects going slightly adrift rather than the direction I thought they were going to go. So yeah, that happens, and I'm sure it happens to you as it does to me. In fact, I'm going to talk about it in one of my upcoming broadcasts in a couple of weeks' time. I'll do one talking about projects and things that go wrong in my projects and some of my more classic failures and what I've done about it and how I get around some of these issues. So look forward to that, and let me know what you think, and let me know also your ideas of how to keep yourself motivated and on track. So what's on today's agenda? Well, I'm going to stick to the same agenda I've done for the last couple of sessions. That seems to sort of work. So we chat around the Pico news and what's coming around the world of Picos, Raspberry Pis and other stuff. We have a chat around projects and that I'm working on, a bit of news around my channel, DrJonEA, and what I'm going to do, because I've got some exciting news about where we're going and what's going on, and some Q&A. So thank you all for joining us live, and let's get into it, I guess. So let me start with the news. So this is the stuff that sort of grabbed my interest, or I think is important and interesting, that's going on in the world, and it's a bit wider than just Raspberry Pis and Picos, because there's a few other things coming up which are quite exciting at this time of year. So Ubuntu's new release, Noble Numbats, is due out on the 25th of April, so that's this week. So that's great. It's in beta at the moment. Beta got delayed a bit, and you probably heard about this. There's been some malicious code which got into the XZ utilities stream. That's a big deal, because XZ utilities is what compresses the kernel on most, or I think just about all Linux distributions. And so any malicious code in there getting into the kernel, infecting the kernel, that would really be a really significant big deal. But Ubuntu have got over that. They are on track, and I believe that it is scheduled back for release this week. So that'll be really exciting to get that out. It's really important for that, for, you know, my theme for this week, talking about robotics and stuff, because that's heavily linked into enabling the next ROS2 release and the binary versions of that, which is Jazzy Jalisco. How they got to come up with these names, I will never know, but they're cool. So that's due for release next month. That comes out in May. They go into their how do they put it? Their beta party starts on the 1st of May, when they all have great fun testing everything and making it all works. This is really an exciting release for me because I think it's going to be the first release that's going to properly support the Raspberry Pi 5. And the power of the Raspberry Pi 5, the dual cameras on the Raspberry Pi 5 on a long-term release, this is all really good stuff and really exciting. So I'm very much looking forward to Jalisco support being there and ready. It would be lovely if they gave us binary release support for my Mac, but I think that's unlikely. So I will still have to work out my ways around that. That is one thing that more recent versions of ROS have been a little bit limited on. It's yeah, no proper binary support for Mac. You have to build from source, and that is far from easy. So ROS2 is really important to me and really important from an embedded point of view. And you've probably seen from my channel lots of projects I've used MicroROS, which is enabling a Pico to actually talk to the ROS2 ecosystem. And I've used MicroROS in my video turntable. I used it for DDD. I'm now using it for the X-Arm. I used it for Robot Santa, who's sitting behind me without his hat on, because it's not Christmas. I've done quite a bit of stuff with ROS2 and enjoyed it, or MicroROS, and enjoyed it at no end. And the embedded working group have asked me to come along and have a presentation about some of the stuff I've done. So Tuesday I will be presenting to the embedded working group on the subject of Picos and MicroROS. And I've entitled it Max, the Raspberry Robot Architecture. And it's really talking about actually maximizing the number of Raspberry Pis and Picos involved in that architecture. So I've got a distributed robot, in fact, using multiple Picos and a Raspberry Pi as a brain, and possibly some other bits and pieces. So I will probably record that for this channel and put it out at a future date, so keep an eye on for that. Or if you're free on Tuesday afternoon, it's 3 o'clock in the UK, then why don't come along to the working group? It's an open meeting, so anyone can come along and listen in. And right, so I started doing last time a section on notable projects I'd noticed on GitHub as part of the news. I don't know if it's spreading out into a new section in the agenda. Possibly it should, but just one exciting project that I spotted this month. And it's an autonomous Magnum robots by Chimney Roy. It's equipped with mecanum, or however you pronounce them, wheels, so omnidirectional wheels, and can go in any direction. It's driven by a Raspberry Pi Pico W, and it also has a Husky lens as an AI image processing on the front of it. That I thought was quite interesting because I've not come across the Husky lens before. This basically runs the algorithms for doing things like facial recognition, object recognition, line detection, etc., all based on its own onboard camera. It looks quite easy to integrate via I2C or UART, and therefore really suitable for plugging into a Pico W as a peripheral. As I said, I've not come across it before, but noticed it on this project, and it looks really quite exciting and quite interesting. So I might try and get hold of one at some point and try and do a video or two on one for the channel. If anyone else has played with these, let me know. I'd be interested in your thoughts too. And one final news item. So if you happen to be located down in Brighton on the south coast, or near the south coast of the UK, we've got a new tinkering group called Breaking Breadboards Brighton. So why don't you come along for our first meeting, which is in May, and we can swap ideas around all of the exciting stuff around tech and building our own little projects. So that's Breaking Breadboards Brighton, and you can find us on meetup.com, and I will put a link into the show notes. So that was all the news I picked up on for this month. If I missed anything really exciting going on, let me know. If there are any really great projects coming up or you've seen on GitHub that should really get a mention, let me know about them, because I will bung them in and add them in the future. So there you go, that's where we are. So that was their news. What next shall we talk about? So I guess next things we go on to really is talking about my projects and what projects are going and what projects we should be working on. Well, there's or what project I should be working on. Sorry, I'm just checking a few things are working in the background here. Live chat. What projects should be working? What projects are there? Well, you've seen a lot of my projects because I share a lot of the stuff I'm working on. Not all of it, but a lot of it gets into my videos. So I've been continuing, as you've probably seen, to be doing some work around flashing LEDs. I've been trying to do some basic projects to help people out getting started, as well as the exciting stuff and trying to bridge between the two. So I've done some stuff around flashing LEDs, both on a Pico, on a Pico W, because they're obviously flashing the LEDs very different. Now I've done one last week on an external LED. LEDs are probably getting a bit boring by now. Hi Greg, hi from Milton Keynes. It's great to have someone else in the UK on board. LEDs are getting a bit boring. I'm not quite sure where to go next with some nice intro projects to link us to. Perhaps I should do something around servos. Let me know if you've got any ideas of what would be good intro projects you'd like to see on my channel to help you in, as well as the more advanced stuff, robotic stuff that I'm going to do as well, more advanced IoT and other peripherals that I will play with. Let me know what you think. I'd be interested in ideas, and we'll see where that goes. The other one I've been working on and spending a lot of my time on is trying to play with a 6 degrees of freedom robot arm. So this is a kit, and it's a kit by High Wonder. I bought it. I bought it off of a certain auction site, and there are a few of them around at the moment, and you can get them for quite good deals. I've dropped all of High Wonder's software, mainly because it only runs on Windows, and I've not got a Windows machine. I've only got Macs or Raspberry Pis or VMs running Ubuntu. So I have to build all the software myself. So we're doing all of this from scratch using ROS2, MicroROS, and of course I'm going to control it with a Raspberry Pi Pico. All really, really interesting stuff. And I've so far already shared my build video of putting the thing together, which was a joyous 3 or 4 hours. And next I really want to go into the world of looking at the joints, because joints are really important in robotics, in understanding where those joints are and therefore understanding where the arm is. So once you know where the joints are and you know where the arm is, then we can work on actually moving the joints. Once I can move things at joint level, then you can move up to moving things at robot level. And then we can think about adding some other stuff like sensors, cameras and stuff like that. I'll probably run this series for a while. It won't be every video, but it will be continuous. Let me know your thoughts into it. If you've come across these, how to play with them, always interested in others' thoughts, and we will see how these things go. Dan's just mentioned that he's got the person sensor from user sensor and it works pretty well. Nice. For faces. Cool. I think actually adding these boards in, particularly when you've got microcontrollers that are doing some of this AI bit, is probably the way to go. Certainly from the stuff I did with Robot Santa around facial recognition on a Raspberry Pi 4, I found that it was quite processor intensive, and the poor old Raspberry Pi was struggling to then work out to have enough cycles to move the head around at the same time. So, you know, actually some of these dedicated AI boards are quite interesting. These AI processors we now have. So thanks for sharing, Dan, appreciate it. The other project I've been working on is I've been playing around with an LCD screen that I got, an ST7789 screen, and it's got an ILI 9341 driver on them. Though these boards don't seem to be quite as standard as I thought they were. So I've been having, this one's been quite a hard project. I was trying to write a simple example for an upcoming course I'm working on. But in actual fact, it's been anything but easy. I've tried loads of half a dozen example projects off of GitHub, of which only one of them could I get the actual board to actually do anything with. And that one, it mirrored the screen. So I ended up going back to first principles. Also working with these displays with the Pico is quite hard, because traditionally when I write this sort of software, I'd immediately go and create a frame buffer that's big enough to cover the whole screen. With 320 by 240 8-bit or 3 RGB, so you know, it's going to be basically 32-bit per pixel. You start getting an awful lot of memory. In fact, at 32 bits per pixel, you'd actually have 300 kilobytes, which is more memory than you actually got at on a Pico. If you drop that down to 16, then it's sort of viable at 150 kilobytes, but it's still way too much really for a Pico to actually hold a frame buffer. So they are challenging, and the library I ended up trying to write is actually frame buffer free, so it does everything live straight against the device, which is interesting and works. But yeah, I will probably share some of the stuff, but I have, as you can see in that video, managed to get some stuff, including the weather in Brighton, downloading live from a web service and display on a Pico W and displayed live straight on that, all running in C++ and FreeRTOS and all the normal sort of stuff I play with. So those are really the projects I've been spending a lot of my time on. So we come on to the next bit, talking about the channel. Where's the channel going and what's my plans next? So, well, I'm continuing with my broadcast schedule. So 4 videos, they're going to go out every week on a Thursday, as usual. We've changed to British summertime, but apart from that, they're going out weekly on Thursdays. There'll be a summary then going out on the following Tuesday. A warning that my 3-minute summary is definitely a brand name, as my 3 minutes as a summary seems to be going everywhere between 1 minute and 3 minutes at the moment, which is 1 minute and about 5 minutes at the moment, which is not exactly 3, I know, but sorry about that. But 3 minutes is a brand. And then Sundays is going to be either this as a live stream once a month, or we will do some shorts. And we'll see how we get on with that. And other exciting news is I finally made it to YouTube partner level. First tier of partner level, so this does not mean that I'm rolling in ads fees at the moment. In fact, I'm not getting any ad fees whatsoever. What I do now have is some extra exciting new features that YouTube throw at me to add into the channel. So the one that I'm going to start using and have turned on the channel is Super Thanks. And Super Thanks is now a thank you button that you can collect to give me special thank you when the content I've provided is particularly helpful. Perhaps it's got you over a particular blocking point on a project, or even through an assignment at uni where you've got stuck. Well, you can now say thank you, and you can buy me a virtual coffee or a virtual lunch. And I'll put any money I make from this into a fund to fund some additional hardware for projects on the channel. So if that's if you want to support that, please do hit that thank you button, say thank you for some of the stuff that I can do, and that will help me out. Hi Greg, yeah, I've played with the SSD 1309 displays as well. They're excellent and really easy to work with on the Pico, and generally they're nice and small, which makes the frame buffers and things not a problem, especially as they're generally black and white. Yeah, good stuff, and thank you for bringing them up. So yes, super thanks. New feature live on the channel. Go have fun with it. I'm continuing to push around with my other social channels as well. I put content out on Instagram, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and some of it is reels from this channel, some of it is other stuff I might actually create that's unique. I've been very bad at putting out daily stuff on the stories on Instagram recently. I'm sorry about that. I might get back to that. It's definitely an insider view of what I'm up to, which is fun and nice. But please do follow me on those channels as well. I'd appreciate all the support I can get across the different channels. So, which takes us to the Q&A part of the session and any questions. So I got 2 canned questions in this week. So question 1 was from Steve, and it's, can the Pico W be a web service client? And the answer is definitely to that, absolutely. And certainly in C++, I've done a lot of that recently because I've actually written a course on it for Udemy, and that will be up probably in the next week or 2, and I'll put an announcement out on the channel, and I'll probably put a voucher out on the channel as well. So if you want to learn a bit about calling web services as a client from your Pico W, then you can expect that real soon from me. And Helen asked a slightly different question. She was asking what you use for 3D printed models, because you know I have used some 3D printing stuff. There was some 3D printing stuff in Robot Santa, in the video turntable, in a few of my projects. And yeah, okay, so what do I use for that? Well, traditionally I used a CAD package called OpenSCAD, which I really quite liked. I really like the programming approach to the CAD. The fact that actually I could just basically write everything in code, compile it, and out came my 3D objects. I have slowly begun to move away from it though, so I'm moving a little bit more towards Blender at the moment. I use Blender for animations and building animations on YouTube. It's incredibly powerful, an incredibly broad tool. It can be used for 3D printing as well, and it's got some really nice 3D printing features and libraries, including a really great one for gearboxes, which is where I really got pulled into do this stuff in Blender, because the gears I'm getting out of Blender are way superior to anything I've managed to do in OpenSCAD, so looks really quite impressive. The one thing I will say about Blender is its learning curve is almost vertical. It is so broad and so wide and so capable. It is quite hard to get your head round, but it really is worth the effort. It is a really fabulous tool. So those were the questions. Let me just scan quickly. One for Greg, do you generally recommend most projects should use FreeRTOS? I have been taking the async superloop approach with no OS. Handling sockets in this fashion is very cumbersome though. Yes, Greg. So I really like FreeRTOS. I think its support for the Pico is also excellent. The fact that actually a symmetric multiprocessor, so running tasks across both cores, is really very easy in FreeRTOS. it's certainly something I would recommend as soon as you get to wanting multiprocessor or multitasking, particularly actually if you want to do sockets. The FreeRTOS with LWIP giving you the whole IP stack where the sockets and IP stack is looked after for you makes life really much easier for writing any of the high level protocols. So I would absolutely recommend FreeRTOS. I've also, of course, got a really good course on it on Udemy. Sorry to mention that and plug it in my own work, but I need to because that's where I make money. So yes, no, FreeRTOS is good, and particularly with sockets, definitely would recommend it. Dan asks, how did I get started writing courses for Udemy? Asking for a friend. Okay, Dan. So how did I get started? I was looking for some other way of funding my life and something else to do, really, and where to move rather than the corporate world. So I looked at, well, actually, I've got this knowledge. I've got 25 plus years of experience working in IT and doing stuff and tinkering with stuff. So there's plenty of stuff I can do. How could I share it, and where could I share it? And is there a small income stream I can produce at the same time from doing so? So that got me into this world of Udemy. I'd come across Udemy before because I'd used it for courses. In fact, the stuff that I started learning ROS2, because ROS2 is quite hard to learn and get started with, I actually did some courses on Udemy on that. They were really, really, the prices point was good, but with the video delivery compared with in classroom courses or books, and it was a really nice experience. So I thought I would try and see if I could add to it, and that got me into it and into that world. It's an interesting world, particularly in minority courses like the stuff I do, because there isn't the biggest audience out there, I know, and I appreciate every one of you who's stick through my channel and my courses, and thank you, Greg, for buying some of my courses. I do appreciate that, but yeah, it's that's how the story of how I got in there. Cool. Well, I think that's all the questions. And that takes us really about to the end of the agenda. So it's been great chatting to you again, and I will do another one of these, of course, in May. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, if there's any great projects we should talk about, if there's anything upcoming we should be there on. Let me know, and I will be delighted to include that. And yeah, please stay subscribed. Please like my videos, and until next time, keep tinkering. Bye bye.